to another week of Tryhard Tuesdays, where we learn to try a little bit harder. I'm your host, the Grand Wazoo, and sitting here with me is, of course, the man, the Grand Master, the myth himself, Flub. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, your intros are getting, so smooth and so, all right, the 5 titles are, just rolling off the tongue now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's when you know you've earned it. It's like being a guy in Skyrim that's head of the Mages Guild, and there's the man from the Mages Guild, It's just a given. You're the Grand Master. But once again, already an interesting week in Dota for you guys, right? You made it to the round of 128 or something of... Was it the open qualies?
Yeah, open qualifiers of the Boston Major. But really, I'm actually a little disappointed with that, to be honest. Last year we got to, I think 64. I swore it was 32, but Ursi has told me it is 64, and he probably knows that better because... I generally like to get overexcited about our team and
I'm pretty sure Ursi, if you guys got to the round of 32, would use it as a badge for sure, and at the very least be factual about it. You know what I mean? That's not something you don't want to claim if you are that close. But 64 itself is impressive, and as is 128 in my opinion, with the vast amount of teams that go through there. And I don't know, I guess it depends on what side of the skill fault you're standing on, but I would be pretty proud myself if I made it. So congrats, and next time let's see you in the major, eh?
Yeah, next time we're at least breaking top 8. That's my goal, is at least break top 8 on the next open qualifier for sure.
That'll give you exposure as a team. I mean, you see people tuning in just for your 128 matches and stuff, you know what I mean? So it's you got that community behind you, but the exposure would definitely be nice. And you see many teams who have formed and done very well under either current names or have changed their names with similar lineups, or just changed their lineups completely, such as, OG and stuff like that, it's interesting how quickly you can kind of go from being not a big competitive force or thought to be maybe a player that's not the best to immediately showing everybody that, look, we've got something special. And there's something idealistic about that for Dota 2. But so what'd you guys play? What'd you guys run? And what were your hitches?
Well, I played Mirana both games, which is good. We got to buy the first round. The second round, I played Mirana, and then third round, I played Mirana, which is just because I'm very comfortable with the hero, and as time went on, it was just the right pick, and it's something that's easily, if you put it in mid lane, it's not going to be heavily countered out in most situations. I feel
because what is there to really counter is the idea there. I mean, she can leap stun really well with a skill shot, and her ult's kind of universally good.
Yeah,
so.
It's kind of more of the fact that yeah, you're right with the leap. Exactly. It's she's a ranged hero who can leap out of trouble. We'll leave Flub in the mid lane. Hopefully he can outfarm the type situation. I was playing up against actually a team of mine that I know. I really respect. I think it's their captain. Captain Canuck, and he's I've played with him in the past 3 years or so, 3 or 4 years, on and off, and he's a really good guy, and but man, it sucks losing to people that I just it burns. The burn is just even deeper because of it, and I guess it's I can't lose to my friends. That's just that's unspeakable, right?
Yeah, it'd rather be an anonymous face in the crowd that you can just kind of forget about slowly, and not someone that is someone that you know, and probably at certain points have excelled in skill over, and so you can see that people can spend some time away and maybe you don't play as much with him and get a lot better at the game, because to beat your team is, I would consider it a pretty big accomplishment at this point. You're all, around 5K. It's that's a team that, if you work together, can accomplish, I'd say, conceivably everything in the game. You could execute strategies conceivably at any... It would depend on the level of execution, but I think conceivably you could execute anything. So it's you start to enter that level of play where you're getting to the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and my friend's team is like that too. They're all 5K at least, and I mean, they're a really good team. So, not to take anything away from them, it's just like, man, I hate losing to people I know, and I always will. But the thing
Do
is,
you go down to 64 once you hit the 128? Is it just because half teams get eliminated, and then from there it's just single elimination down to the 8? Or how does that work?
so you go 28, 64, 32. It's just by halves. You keep going down. Um, that's like the placement area, because like,
And only one team, of course, advances in that slot. So you have to be top one to get through.
yeah,
But
and it's best of one too. So I mean, if you screw up that first game, well, you screwed up that first game, you're out.
which is a bummer because this is a game that you can win on outdrafts or some guy getting a hero that's really good and not countering it. And so it would be nice to be able to grab that intel. I mean, I understand that they want to get through it and get it over with and just find the people, but it seems like quite a bit of luck would also be involved in that run.
Yeah. So our first game, to answer your first question that started this whole thing, what our draft was it was Drow, Oracle, Beastmaster, Mirana, and Shadow Shaman. So that was a really interesting draft. We had a lot of potential of lockdown. We had obviously a lot of ranged heroes to help out the lanes and just take full advantage of the Drow. We won that match handily. And then the match that we lost, I played Mirana once again. We had a Axe as our off lane, and we were planning to duel off lane, but they kind of forced us to try lane safe because they went aggressive on us. And we didn't rotate out because we thought we could take it, and then we had some bad reactions to their tri lane. So we had Axe basically as our solo. Winter Wyvern was supposed to be with him, but he moved down to form a tri lane. AA and Spectre. And the idea behind that was they had a Oracle, so we wanted the AA to stop that Oracle, and we had the Spectre for their Tinker to stop that. So we were trying to match up against them in a good scenario, and we thought it was going to work out really well, but they tri-laned pretty hard versus us and just made it really hard to go up against that potential, and they just really punished us for picking the Spectre, and that's what you do. That's how you counteract it. So I wasn't too mad at the end. And man, playing Mirana mid without Drow Aura versus a Tinker, God, that sucks, man. I do not suggest that to anyone. It is something I had to do, but if I could go back, man, I wish we never picked Mirana without the Drow. It hurts so bad, especially with Tinker making you miss half the time.
Yeah, it sounds like what they did was, like you said, just plan a draft around hitting that timing before the Spectre comes online and just getting up in your grill, and it sounds like it worked. But that's the thing about single limb is if you had another game, maybe you could tie it, you know what I mean, and move forward with 1 point each or something. I don't know how they do it, but it's it almost feels like it's too punishing.
Yeah, that's the thing though. They have to get through 1,000 people, right, or so. This one was shorter, but TI was 1,000 in some teams that they needed to get through in a day. So they gotta do what they gotta do, right? Because then you'll be, if it was 3 games, you would either have to span it over 3 days or have you playing till 6 in the morning. So it's understandable.
Yeah, they just want to cut the time. And so, yeah, that is quite understandable. I can't wait to see who gets through. Maybe it'll be a team we know. Maybe it won't. The Boston Majors are, of course, coming up. They will be running, I believe, through... they start on December 3rd and end on the 10th, so it's going to be a week-long tournament. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't actually watched a ton of Pro Dota in a while, so we already have Wings, Digital Chaos, EG, OG, Execration, and eHome. what we don't have are, of course, the qualifiers from the other things to the other 6 teams. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that tournament. It's going to be like real cool to see how far we've come since TI, where the meta's at, and who's on top. So I'm looking forward to it. It's cool that you played in that flub, and I don't know. I guess that's the mind of a champion against a mind of someone who's 2K. Is I'd like be so stoked at 128. I couldn't even believe it, but. Well, they won't even let me into the qualies. They're just like, no, sorry. So moving on though, I've had a pretty interesting week in Dota. I've played a bit, having good times, but nothing so intense as what you have been doing. Been I don't know, trying to become more of a student of the game again. Play things that I don't usually play and play multiple positions more so than just focusing on one thing. Because it helps my depth of understanding for the show and increases my enjoyment of the game. And one thing I've always found interesting is experience and how it works in the game. And I feel like a primer for that is well overdue. Even though we've done it on the show, I believe, before, it's interesting to go back over and talk about this and ways to get back when you're behind, which we've kind of comprised down to ganking, and because that's a major way to catch up, and deciding who gets the experience. Flub, do you want to take everyone through like a brief explanation of just how EXP works, things like EXP range, and how experience is split within a certain area with different heroes in the range? Like, I think people, it'd be good to know. So can you give us a primer?
Yeah, it's something I should definitely know more about. The one thing that it's kind of funny, being a person who's played the game for so long, I know the range of where it's at, and I don't know the actual terms of like how far something is or how close it is half the time, because like it's
more of an instinct, right? It's more of a feel of instinct.
Like people have like numbers about when to pull camps, but I have like understandings of like when the creeps get to this point, or when it looks like this is the situation. I know the creeps will move this fast, so I can pull it in this random scenario instead of, oh, if I pull here at 54 or 53, then that's like the way that you pull creeps, or that's the way that Roche has a specific time of like XX. I know it's like, okay, around this time, it's like 8 minutes after he dies, I need to start checking Roche.
Whereas instead of a player like me who looks at the clock, I look at 53 and like, no, I can pull that normal camp into the wave, but you just see the creep wave and know when to pull it, kind of. You do it by eye, not so much timing.
Yeah, just because like I didn't have someone telling me that when I first started, so it's kind of like in my brain, and like I've like made minor switches over time, to just to make it better and better as time goes on. It's funny though, like you ask me that, and I'm like, yeah, I totally should know that. And then it's like, I think it's 1,000 though. I'm gonna go and say it's 1,000. Someone's probably gonna tweet me tomorrow.
You're close. It's 1,300.
1,300.
1,300 range. It's probably been that number at a certain point. I don't know, but it. I don't really understand what a unit is in this game, to be honest. Like, I know it's like a step or so, but I don't know. Like, I couldn't tell you what exactly the distance of one unit is, but 1,300, I mean, it's not a short distance, it's not a long distance, it's kind of right in the middle. It's kind of like as far as I can tell, like, they're still on your screen, kind of, but you're not off the screen with it. And so that's kind of how I've looked at it. Because you've got to still kind of be close enough to be taking that risk, but you don't have to fully dedicate into like something offensive. That's always kind of how I think about it. You're that distance from the creep wave to still kind of be considered in the battle, but you're not necessarily in the thick of the battle. And I think your explanation of like how you learn is very important, because you have these habits, and the good habits are the ones that are going to help you grow at the game, and the bad ones are going to detract from that. But you can have these mechanical habits when it comes to things like checking Roche, or where you ward, or your rotations, or knowing that you can grab a ward at this time and then pull the camp. And those timings don't typically change. You know what I mean? Like they're going to be around that time. So if you reinforce those habits, you're going to be a more efficient player. I mean, it's more efficient than checking the time if you can hit it at the right time due to, knowing you need to be a certain place because of a visual thing on the map like the creep wave. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's something from lots of experience. You know what I mean? That is what we're talking about. So there you go. I kind of want to talk about efficiency with you then in that case. I feel like it's a good segue. What does it mean in your position of a 4 to be efficient in terms of gaining experience? And do your map rotations largely come into how you get the experience you need?
Well, I used to be a 4, so we can talk about being a 4 because it's such embedded in me now. I am a 2 now. It's because of the whole roster change that we just went through like a month or two ago. But in general, if you're looking at like a 4, I feel like that it's about getting those pickoffs and being successful or not. The real thing about what's so great about this patch, personally for 4 players, is that you have the ability, if you mess up a gank or two, to be able to, one, use like some of the guys are able to use the jungle to their advantage, or two, to like grab up a tome of experience and like kind of shore up your problems there. But what the true thing is, so that you don't mess up ganking, is understanding the true moments of when the offlaner can't really call you out. It's very important to like move in such a way that you can like smoke like next to your tower when the wave's pushed out, or like sometimes there's times where I will pull the creep wave. I'll pull out my own creep wave, grab it just for a second when I know that there's no ward over there and I've like clearly dewarded the enemy offlaner, and smoke really quickly, just like by myself, not with the 5, to get that advantage on the mid. And if you're able to get that secret, you don't necessarily need the 5 in that type of situation, because they see the 5 at bottom and they're like, okay, the 4 is probably hanging around, so I can't contest that creep wave at bottom, because if I go over there, I will have the chance of 4 being there, and I can't contest the carries farm. So you're getting 2 value points there. You're having your 5 get all the farm from that camp, getting them the opportunity of, one, getting the upgraded courier, getting some more sentry wards sent out to like unblock the other camp, get some sentry wards out for the like Ricky or Bounty that's probably in the game, or just get boots. Have early boots in the game. That's super incredible on a support in the beginning. And then obviously you're guaranteeing your carry farm, and when you're able to smoke and get that rotation onto mid, they think that they're safe, and having them think that they're safe, they can be a little bit further out, and as long as your mid has some type of stun or slow that you run, it's probably a guaranteed kill when you get that far out of position.
Because there is no missing call, because they've assumed that you've just gone to go into the jungle, maybe ward, etc. And that's a
ward, man. You're just like, they think that you're like hiding behind some trees and like
just trying to zone them, and so they can't do it.
Exactly. If they think that they go for something, then they're going to be risking you jumping on top of them, and then that offlaner dying. When in fact that you're doing the exact opposite and focusing on the mid.
Good mind games, and I like the steps here, because you talk about dewarding first. It feels like a lot of people miss out on the point that this whole thing is null if they see you leave physically because they have a ward up. You know what I mean? I'll see that mistake a lot, and then it's just kind of a wasted gank of the 4 standing in lane with the mid, soaking experience, and nothing comes out of it. So it's very important to have that, I guess, like operating procedure when it comes to when you're about to do that. You want to be able to set it up to the point that it looks like you're still there, but you still want to be able to rotate without being seen. So it's definitely important to deward, and also watching the off lane I think is important, because you can tell when you're standing somewhere and someone's reacting to you being there when they can see you, and when they're reacting to you as if they can't see you but they're ready if you pop out of the woods or something. And so I think it's important to remain observant, and especially when you're rotating. But I like that idea a lot, and it's something that will bring you experience and a little bit of extra gold, a little bit of extra scratch in your pocket to be able to buy what you need to. So what's a way on the flip side that the mid could come back into the game after getting ganked there?
Well, it definitely depends on the hero, but there's a few mids that you can stack ancients with. That's really, really nice to have. There's also being able to do the creep camp on the radiant side. That's closest to the mid lane. Being able to pop into there every once in a while, grab a few stacks, is very helpful. And most of the mids in the game can do that stack with little to no real help or real item changes to their hero, so it's possible. There's also obviously the way of the 4 and the 5 helping out in that scenario of stacking and helping you get back for heroes in the past when Shadow Fiend was crazy good, and you could just farm the stacks instantaneously without all that magic debuff that's available to the creeps now. Which, I mean, you can still do it fast. He's just not as good as a hero. The opportunity is about taking a little bit less risk, because if you try to risk in a situation when you're down, especially mid, they are 100% over you. They're not getting less experience or less gold in a certain situation. If you go up against an offlaner and you're not doing too hot and he's doing a little bit better, he's gonna have to not get all of the farm because he's being semi pushed out by you. Whereas in mid, if you're losing that lane, you're losing it really hard, and he's gaining twice as much, or pretty much an equivalency of twice as much, because he's denying you of your creeps and gaining his own. Whereas in the other lanes, it's not quite as big a deal, lane equilibrium wise. So just don't take risks when you're in mid, unless you have the situation where you are ahead or you're about even.
You want the risk to be a 75 to 25, not a 50 to 50 or lower chance that it'll succeed, right?
Right.
You want to have that advantage before you start taking risks.
The thing is though, 50 to 50 can work. I don't want to say that you shouldn't do that, because I play on that edge sometimes. It depends on what style of player you are. If you're definitely about trying to stop them, then it can be very useful. For instance, Pudge. If you're playing a Pudge, you're gonna lose the last hit lane, almost guaranteed. But you should be able to use your hook as a way to freak them out into screwing up their own.
Yeah. What signs can you look for when you're about to get ganked? I know you said the mid, you're guaranteed that type of kill, but when you set up those prime circumstances, and of course we all know there's nothing like a true guarantee in Dota, really. Everything, there's a slight chance it can fail, but what can that guy do if he doesn't have a blink or something and he's caught out like that? Besides good reaction and everything, what can you look for?
Well, what you can look for in a situation where a gank is available is seeing what spells they've used. That's also a very big, clear-cut reason to go in. If you know that they have let's say an invoker, and the invoker has used his cold snap on your mid in a way that's kind of aggressive, but your mid can get up above the high ground, and he'd have to chase up there. That's a really good time to go in, because your mid can kind of bait himself into that situation. If you're talking about When to go in, though, when you're behind, it's kind of risky to bait in that scenario. It's probably the best win reward, though, because obviously they're ahead and you'll get the biggest return when they're ahead. So it's not like undoable, or like not approachable, because like a lot of times you'll want to call for a gank whenever you're in trouble in mid, because you can't just like pull back the lane by yourself when they've gotten ahead of you. Um, but I guess like if you're like trying to set up like to see if someone is going to get caught out, um, it's where they are positioned, of course, but it's also like what spells they're using and what items they have available to themselves. A lot of times, people in lower MMR they won't click on the enemy hero and see that they have a fairy fire, and they lose out of a fight that they could easily have won if they just like, okay, I needed to harass him one or two more times before going really hard on this hero, because he has that ability to give himself that health and put me at that disadvantage.
And that is the chain of operations, I think, in this situation as well, is like you need to know what you're up against. And once you know what you're up against, you can decide, how am I going to take down those items? How am I going to drop his raindrop so I can get in and actually fight this guy? You know what I mean? Like, if you stay aware and, I guess, not just of your surroundings, but what people are building, what their skill build is, where they're sending the heroes, it can be very good to just, like, have in your mind that, there's an off lane, I don't know, overlord, and he might hit level 6, and if he comes over here, he could push me back and they could kill me or something. If you just keep those timings in mind and check the scoreboard and check what information is given to you, I think it's there's a lot to be said for that, on a micro level and a macro level, that you can kind of start to realize you can control the game by what you build, and you can set up for more success based upon those limiting factors that are actually more knowledge than you think they are, or they give you more knowledge on your enemy's weaknesses than you think they do.
Yeah, it's a lot of the things that we're talking about is general. The more knowledge you have in any given situation, the better decision you can make, right? So, I mean, I know that sounds really dumb. Like I just like said something no duh, but if you
no, like I think when you're talking to tactics, like it is something that needs to be stated, because a lot of people are like, I'm just going to go in and wreck this guy, and the thing with that in any type of like tactical situation is you're not looking to just run in swinging. You're looking how you can best take down the situation and how you can put yourself at the best advantage when you come to fight. So I don't think it is a dumb thing to say. I think it's obvious when you say it, but it might not be obvious to other people who play the game. They might just be thinking that I'm not doing good enough, but maybe they're not looking at the items of the other team and saying to their team who builds a Deso, natural Deso carrier, yo man, you should really build a Deso. It'd be really good in this situation. And once you start to realize that by being amicable and wanting to see people succeed and not just demanding, but like helping people come to those conclusions, you can win games that way. And so by helping people to that knowledge, I don't think it's an obvious point at all, man.
Yeah, that's true. I think that I do think that when you look at another person on the other team, it's strategy is all about thinking about what the other person's going to do and reacting to the possibility of every outcome and trying to foresee it. People have compared Dota to chess, and free to play, and people have compared strategy in general to chess because it takes the same format whenever you're talking about a war, you're talking about a video game, you're talking about board game. Everything always in strategy, and how it always will be, is thinking about what your opponent is going to do and trying to predict the outcome of what you can wrap your head around, what you can think about. Okay, they are going to make these next 5 moves. All right, I know that they're going to make these next 5 moves, then I will do this process or this exact type of move to counteract what they're going to do in the next 5 without revealing my hand. Because if you reveal your hand, then they are doing the same thing to you. And it's all about trying to be 5 steps ahead of the person. And like anything that we've ever watched growing up or anything that we've ever done is always about outthinking the person before you are able to really understand what's going on. Like that's how growing up, superhero shows they worked the same way, because if the villain was like thinking of what the hero was going to do beforehand, then it was already like they were already doomed to begin with. Those were the best villains, whereas like that's the best strategists. If you can think about the idea and not say, hey, I'm going to just like go in and just be awesome, well, the likelihood of you like reacting faster than the other person is very minimal, because after a certain point you can't just say that your reactions are going to be faster than the next guy, because there's always someone faster. But if you like try to train your mind to like think about things before that's happening and use that at the same time, then you are going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, interesting distinction. If you have all your eggs in one basket and you're just like, I can be a very, very fast player, then when someone comes along that's faster, they'll beat you. But if you can put yourself in your enemy's shoes and say, what is the last thing I would want to see in this lane? What is the last person I'd want to play against? What's an item that would destroy me if I was playing anti-mage? You know, if you could put yourself in your enemy's shoes and then on the flip side be able to understand what you would feel weak against, you can start to make, you know, those type of decisions just on the fly. And it starts to be, I don't want to say simple, but you start to understand that if you have a character or hero that blinks around a lot, it's good to have an abyssal that you can blink up on him and just slap him down with a stun, you know? And it's like stuff like that may be obvious to you, might not be obvious to people on your team at your skill level. And so seeing that and being able to say, this would be good because of this, and getting people to agree with you, I think is a lot of the struggle of Dota. But also you got to be able to recognize it. So I think that's the first step of any type of reactive strategy game, is you need to understand that we all have very limited control in any situation. I mean, even a game like Counter-Strike, you're ultimately, if the rest of your team dies and it's 1v5, like that's not going to happen, you know what I mean? But if you're running a team 5v5 or even 3v5, you can outthink the other team tactically, and Dota's no different, I'm convinced by now. I used to think you just got trenched or one player fed, but the truth is you can play around a feeder if the other 4 people are doing what we've been talking about this whole cast. So Flub, let's get our minds back to experience for a bit and talk about ways other heroes come back into the game in different stages of the game. What do you, I mean, I know the easy nutshell answer for the offlaner now is the Iron Talon. Like if you're behind, you just go, but that feels more of like an early game item. Like what can a offlaner do to come back into the game towards the mid game if, say, he's been like, I don't know, put very far behind?
One thing that I always like to tell people about the offlane, I used to do it a long time ago, and the thing was with the offlane before Iron Talon, a lot of times you would just try to get what you possibly could out of the offlane, and dying a couple times was okay. Where now it's not really that acceptable. You can die like once, maybe twice, and that's okay, kind of, but it's not really acceptable. You should kind of like tell when the lane's gonna go bad and be able to jungle with Iron Talon. The thing is that like to counteract that before, you had to have a better mid game. Like you had to come out with like basically nothing, set up a fight or set up a situation or be in charge of a gank and gain a bunch of XP and gold off of that, then go into the jungle, farm a little bit, or go into the off lane because it got pushed. Because generally people would like push down the first tier tower, and you almost would like let that tier 1 go just so you had some room to farm. The thing is that if you the principle is still the same at this point when you get into the mid game. When you get into the mid game now, as an offlaner, you generally have more gold because of that situation, because you can farm it off. But even if you have a really bad situation, you get bad camps, you can't do it because you just don't have like the hero for it.
Or what if they have like a combo that just is always checking your jungle and invading your jungle even after you've gone in, you know? Like I feel like there's a lot of factors that, yeah, Iron Talon is very good, but I feel like you could still at some levels of play get like pushed out of your own jungle in ways in certain situations.
Oh, most definitely. Like, people do that all the time versus like an axe off lane. Like they'll like run like Ricky or Bounty Hunter or something. Like in general, it's not very good versus him in lane. But as long as they have like a decent lane or have like a Drow in lane, he can't do Jack. And then the Ricky goes and interrupts the jungle, so he can't do Jack there. So like I've been a part of that, and the best way to come back in that situation is to have your supports bring you back later on. Get a good gank off, use smokes correctly, and be a part of them. You kind of alternate into a support at that point until you have the ability to get farm again. You don't buy support items. You're just kind of like there, and there's like some ways where if they're really shutting you down, I mean, if it's like a seriously bad match, then just sit behind your carry because that's like what you're gonna have to do. Because if they try to like gank him, then you have to be able to react or carry a TP and like just sit in lane and try to like gain XP where you can. Don't let yourself get out and realize the potential of like if they have the ability to blink on you, don't stand out too far, that type of thing. Once again, it's knowing what the enemy has off of what farm they have. If they're going for really farm heavy, you can punish that with a smoke. If they're going really gank heavy, you can punish that by grouping up and securing your farm. Because if they're going gank heavy, if they go an early blink, that doesn't help them farm any faster. Yeah, they're getting more farm than you guys are, but hopefully your carry will get a farming item then. And then if you keep them safe, you're getting not the same, but hopefully you'll get near the same as time moves on, because they are a whole item away from you. So it's about understanding the difference between the item setups that your enemy team has, and then developing a strategy of safety or aggression.
All those binaries are really interesting. I mean, it shows that a player that is better at the game is more capable of breaking down these thought patterns into choices. And once you realize that there are these two choices you can make in a lot of Dota, and that is a lot like chess. Excuse me. Like either you aggress or you try to set up a trap. You know what I mean? I don't want to simplify the game too much because I'm a student of the game, as is Cyphus, and my brother played for a while. So, I mean, it's always been easy to relate Dota there for me, except it's, I don't know. I don't want to say more deep than chess. It's just, it's got a lot more pieces, I guess, is where I've come to it. And those pieces always change. So I see that the main philosophy, though, is very similar. I mean, you either aggress, like you said, create an environment of offense, or you create an environment of safety. And if you need to get to late game, you should probably know that you should be creating an environment of safety. Your team should be on the same page until that Spectre or whatever, or Anti-Mage hits those timings that you need to see him hit. So, I don't know, Flub. It's been enlightening for me to talk about, to be honest, because it shows like these thought processes that can really help you become a more efficient player. And there's a lot you can do to catch up in the game on EXP or gold, but I think what I'm taking away from this largely is that you need your team to do it. You need to be on the same page, and communication is, as always, in every conversation on the show, it feels like very much a prevalent factor in this and every other aspect of Dota.
Mm-hmm. And it's why I push for people to be more welcoming and to have better communication in the first place. Is that like the real success that comes from all the games I've had, like, is not. I will say, like, it's not because I'm a good player. Like, I'm a good player, and it's because I was able to work with my team. Like,
so you're a good player and you're an awesome communicator.
Well, I don't. I didn't mean it that way, but like, you got me, I guess. I wanted to say, like, it's not always on your shoulders, and don't always depend on only yourself, because I feel like that's like it's funny. There's a switch in the meta at a certain point, because, or not in the meta, but in the tiers. I feel like how I got out of being what people call like like when I was learning the game and understanding like what trench tier was in like Dota and Han and stuff like that, um, I when I was playing it, I I had this very selfish mentality, and then I opened myself up in this mentality of like, okay, I need to listen to what other people are saying, even if they're an ass. Let's listen to what they have to say, and maybe we can move the team into a better direction, um, and I can help them out in a better way. And when I was able to do that, I was able to like quickly grow in rank. And then when I got to Dota 2, what's kind of weird is that um, it's kind of the same thing in Han too. When you got to a certain point at a certain level, you can't depend on your teammates to do stuff, but people give up on that team mentality. It's weird. You want to work as a team as much as possible and depend on people early on, and then as you get into like longer and longer, it feels like people like don't depend on anyone. They they'll say they depend on you, and then if you fail, they immediately like ignore you the rest of the game. And that's probably how it is in lower MMR too. It's just it's way more prevalent in like medium MMR. I feel like is like they'll trust you, but then they'll like throw it away. And when you get to high, like there's some 5K players that I've talked to, or like 6K players. A lot of times, the guys that are that high are like the most non-toxic people you would ever meet. There's also like some 5K players that are some of the most toxic people that you'd ever meet because they're really good at reflexes, and they don't really care about working together. They're just there because like they want to try to like shoulder everything and be the best player that they can be. But then they realize
I always feel like players like that are like filthy projectors. Like they are upset with their skill, and so when they're not able to perform, they like take it out on everybody else. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know, I know players like that, and it's just like if you put that shouldered burden on the team and don't just have it on yourself, like you're not going to react so hardcore about it. Because like in the reality, you never gave the team a chance to play with you, and then when you weren't able to do your win condition or whatever, like you like throw a baby tantrum, and it's like projection, man. Like it's like they feel like they can't do it themselves, and so it's not worth playing, which is just completely counterintuitive to Dota 2 in general.
Yeah, it's something that I don't understand where the difference is in Dota 2 and Han and stuff. Like it all became like this idea that obviously it has to do with solo MMR, and solo MMR being the most important thing. It's about the soloistic mentality, and I totally understand why it is that way. And we've talked about this last Wednesday on last Wednesday show, I'm pretty sure. So I don't want to get too much into it, but if there was like a way that we could make party MMR mean something again, like mean an idea, I wonder how much the game would shift, because it does mean this way. Like to be a better player is to communicate better, and you see that in higher level play all the time. Like there are some pros that obviously are really really good players, and they break down teams because they're just like awful people to play with, and then they don't get what anywhere near where they should be, because they just don't put in the effort to like communicate well. Whereas if you put in the whole package, like you're gonna be so much better as a player. Not only if you have high a high strength and strategy, a high reaction time, and a good communication. Like those are the players that like stay at 5K, 6K, and they don't really care about their MMR a lot of times whenever I talk to these guys, because they're just like trying to play Dota, and they're just like trying to get better. They're not worrying about oh, this is my MMR. This means how good I am. They're like, okay, this is how we play. We do this. We do that. Like this is. They're not commanding you. They're just like they've studied the statistical data on it, or they've studied the thousands of hours that they've played on it, and they're like directing the team. Okay, we need to do this. Oh, okay. Well, you didn't do it this way, so we need to do it a better way next time, or we need to do it just a little bit different this next time. And it's not like condescending. It's just okay. This is the point that we need to make. Let's move on.
Trying to get the job done and realizing through their experience that they can affect that with good communication.
Exactly.
And so that's, I guess, gonna nutshell this, our efficiency and EXP talk. I want to go into our item of the week now. And this was sent in by our sound engineer, a listener, and a friend, Tom Juice. His name is Juice, real name Tom. And he wanted us to do the Tome of Knowledge. So this kind of ties directly into our entire conversation here. It's a unique ability that it grants for 150 gold to acquire knowledge. It's something that was just recently added into the game in the past few patches. Which patch it was exactly, I don't know. Do you know exactly when it was added to the game?
It was
6.87.
I was gonna say 6.886. I'm glad you looked it up. 6.87.
Yeah, it was added in 6.87 and has not since been changed, really, at least as far as I know. It's only becomes purchasable after the 10-minute mark. Like I said, costs 150, immediately grants 425 EXP. So while everyone's fighting a grueling battle of blood, sweat, and tears, you're back in base reading some Anne Rice or something and gaining experience. You're just reading a novel, and that increases your knowledge and depth of the world. There's two psychologies, or I guess schools of thought and psychologies on the item, and that's that... one, you give it to supports to kind of catch up and hit their old levels, and another, you can kind of throw them on your carry to keep him with that level advantage. What do you think, Flub? Where do you see it more used at your level of play?
So in general, it's like the first tome is almost always to a support. You use it to hit that level 6, because generally, whenever you're playing a support, you're giving the carry a lot of times the space to be able to get that solo XP. Whether it's like pulling a stack or going to go gank, a lot of times you're giving him XP and he will hit it generally faster than the offlane will, if done correctly. So you'll probably be like level 4, or hopefully you'll be 5 whenever that time limit rolls around. If you get some good ganks off and you get a couple of them out, you'll be level 6 and you won't need it. Then you could probably give it to the other support, which is wasn't a part of it, or was pooling or something like that, and wasn't able to take part of the pool. Sometimes it's just like not important for them to hit level 6 as it is for another hero. So in general, it goes to them. There's some times where it's okay to give it to the offlane if they've had a really bad offlane experience, but it's still the best to buy it on a support and give it to the offlane, or buy it on a support and give it to a support. Then everyone after that should always be whoever needs the 6th, 11th, or 16th level, that will like give them the biggest boost to whatever team fight they need to have at the next time.
But that's the most effective way to use it, is to pump those people along to those levels?
Yes, always to the getting your ultimate to the next level. After the first one, it's fine to give it to pretty much whoever, but it's always to get the guy to the next level so that you can fight in a team fight. Or if it pops up and there's an ability where like someone's like really low and they need to just like use it as an ability to make them do more damage in the next team fight, that's fine. But it's a little risky kind of to do that. It's better than not using it though. Like if you have a situation where you're not using the tome, it should pretty much be bought at any given moment, and you should be trying to take advantage of it because you need the XP advantage. It's a very big advantage, and to go and to like hold on to it really isn't really doing anything for you, because you'll be able to farm faster when you're a higher level. You do more damage. Your spells will do more damage probably because you'll level up those. You'll have more hit points, more mana. Just obviously, it's better for you, and it gets you closer to getting more experience to the next level. Yada yada yada.
That's a very realistic way to look at it. I didn't really think about it, because sometimes I see carries buy it and get chewed out, and then sometimes I see supports buy it and the carry chews them out because they want it. So that makes way more sense, and it's more efficient that way. I mean, it's an item that's not really meant to be used to just gain yourself multiple levels or something. It's supposed to be used to bump you along to those ults when you just need a bit that you've missed out on. So a pretty unique item in terms of Dota. Every 10 minutes they spawn. I thought the flavor text was pretty interesting. One sec, I was just looking it up again because I closed the tab. But it says that which raises beast to man and man to god. So apparently, early level people are beasts, which I don't agree with. I think they are definitely people as well. So I don't know what Valve is thinking there, but the item is very unique in pretty much every way in terms of Dota 2. I mean, we hadn't seen anything like it before, and I wonder if it sets another precedent for other such books to come out like they had in Dota 1 that you've talked about. I don't know. Didn't you say they had different stats books, etc., that you could buy?
Well, it was. I don't think it was. Man, I'm gonna get flamed for this, but I don't think it was. There was any actual stat bonuses for books in Dota 1. I think it was all the other custom games that were out there, like Footmen, Angel Arena, things.
But it was a concept taken from those early predecessors of Dota, kind of, that they've worked into Dota 2.
Yeah, it's definitely nowhere near as crazy, because it used to be like on those games it had, you could buy the Tomes of Knowledge like this, but it was no time limit and there was an unlimited stock. So much different in application for using a very smart way to bring in a new tactical advantage.
Because if you have the information that, their support hasn't hit this yet, and you have that in your mind that the Shadow Shaman or something isn't going to have wards or something like that, and then they come and have that item to give them the EXP, and then boom, it's in the fight, and you overlooked that gives another edge to that type of gathering information and stuff when those variables are more unpredictable. So I don't know. I don't have much more to say about the item. I find it interesting. I always buy them up if they don't get bought up. Sit back in base in my hammock and read a book while everyone's fighting, yep. or rather feeding most of the time. I just tie them up between those two effigies. But that's all I really have to say. Do you have anything else to add on the tome before we close out the show?
I think it's a really strong item. Excuse me. I think that the item is very good, very well used, and should always be used constantly whenever you guys can get it. Until there's a certain point in the game. Generally, once you hit 40 or 50, it's not 40 or 50 minute mark. It's generally not a good time to start buying them, even if you're you're using it to help you out, just give you a little bit of a bonus.
The value isn't there.
I personally don't feel the value is. You need that gold for one for whatever item that you have or buyback, and you're kind of teetering that line half the time on either having an item or having buyback. So you should really spend your money towards that at that point. The only reason why you should buy it is if you're not level 16. I feel like getting the stats is nice, but you can just get items that can give you stats that you can build into and give you something else. So the value is going to drop off later game. That's a good distinction to make. But we have decided to do another poll for the week. We are going to get that put up so you guys can vote on it and decide what next week's item of the week is going to be. Flub, do you have any ideas for items, or do we want to just kind of wing it from what's interesting? Because there's some I'd like to talk about as well. I'd like to do super late game items, but if you have other ideas, we can go with that. I was actually thinking the same thing. I've been wanting to do late game items because we've been doing early game, mid, and recently mid game. So why don't you just pick the late game items? I'm sure I'll be happy with any of them.
Okay, I want to do Satanic for sure and Butterfly. So you can pick the last one.
Okay, Satanic, Butterfly. How about? Oh, I know, Sheep. I love.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that gives us a good agi strength and then int late game item that we can look at. So, guys, we will get that poll put up for the item of the week, and me and Flub will engage and talk to you guys about that stuff if you want to get a conversation going. That will be up probably tomorrow. You'll be able to vote for that, and we will talk about those items next week. So, Flub, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you, reach you, and engage with you? It seems like you've been getting a lot of Twitter love lately. So,
that is true. He's referring to there was a a big talk today about whether things are overpowered or not, and I had to talk about that for a good length, and we actually get to talk about it on the Wednesday show. If you tune in for the Wednesday show tomorrow, it was great. But you guys can reach me at Flub Dota with 2 B's. It's pretty much, I try to keep it in contact and answer any questions that you guys might have. And I used to go to the in-houses, but sadly, our practice is on Wednesdays now, so I will probably not be able to be at the in-houses anymore. But they're very fun, and anyone should go if you're able to.
Yeah, it's a bummer you can't make it because I know people loved playing with you and everyone else that plays on your team that's really engaged with the community. But as for me, you can also probably find me at the in-houses. I at least stop into the Twitch stream and check it out there because they're a lot of fun to watch, and they put on a good show there. If you have any questions, you can contact at Grouty Dota. Any questions and complaints, not just about Dota, anything in your life. If you need someone to yell at, just contact at Grouty Dota, and he will definitely hear you out. As for me, you can contact me at @p_wazoo. That's the guy you contact when you have anything nice to say about the project, and if you tell us like we're life-changing and stuff, that's where you send all of that. You can also find us at our YouTube, at .ptv1, doing tons of YouTube reviews of people in the community. We just did one for a guy named Mr. Blue. Not the Mr. Blue that was on this show, however, but a new age Mr. Blue. It's like we rebooted him to be more cool. So check that out. The replay review is up. It's very interesting. And you can check out the in-houses. I mentioned the Twitch but didn't plug it at .ptv. The in-houses are, of course, like Flub said, Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern is when they start. I don't have anything else to add, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, it's been a great time talking to you. Engage with us on Twitter, and make sure to get involved with the community. If you have any questions about it, contact anyone that I've mentioned above. So thank you guys very much for joining us, and remember, stay hard, stay hard.